Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on ARK Survival Evolved. We're back in Aberration after just finishing off our Let's Play series and defeating the final boss in this map. Now we're here to do an everything you need to know type video just before moving on to extinction. This will cover everything from creatures to dangerous spores. Aberration has a lot of new elements and a lot of key features that I think make this map amazing, and I will try and go through as much as I can in this one video. Some of the things covered in this video are things I already knew or things I've learned as I played through the map on this series. Other things, they were completely new to me and I didn't find out until I was actually making this video, when looking into this video. As a last shameless plug, if you haven't watched my series, I encourage you to do so. I've made a playlist of each individual map that I've played, and I've got one big playlist which is showing my journey, taking my character from the island to Genesis, or Genesis Part 2 when that is released. And without further delay, let's just get into the video, and I hope you enjoy. First thing to note in Aberration is that the map is split into 4 distinct regions. To me, I'd say it's split into 3 main regions where you'd spend most of your time, and then there's the surface where you're feeling particularly brave. First up is the fertile region, notable for its green colour. It's full of plants, crystal clear lakes, and plentiful basic resources. All in all, it's a great starter area for the new survivor, and this is made even more true due to the fact that no nameless spawn here, and don't worry, we'll get into those later. Second up is the Bioluminescent Region, notable for its blue glow. It is the middle ground in terms of difficulty, and I wouldn't stray too far into this region unless you're prepared. This is where you'll be coming though to farm most of your metal. This is typically where you'll first encounter the nameless and first encounter the rock drakes. My first death to a rock drake was here, and my first death in Bioluminescent Region was to a rock drake. Great times. I also wouldn't take a dip in the water unless you're a fan of electric eels and jellyfish. Supposedly a Reaper King can spawn here, but I've never actually seen one myself, so I can't comment too much on that one. Third is the Molten Element region, notable for its purple hue. This is the hard difficulty area on the map, and a lot of the most dangerous creatures will spawn here, including Reaper Kings, Reaper Queens, masses of the nameless, and Seekers. Trade-off here is this way you'll find high level materials such as obsidian, element ore, and black pearls. This is also where you'll need to go to find your first rock drake eggs. If you want to know the route that I use for rock drake eggs and watch a few fails along the way, then I'll have my video where I steal my first rock drake egg in the description below. Definitely need to be prepared with a hazard suit and some well leveled tames to take on this area. Lastly is the surface. This is the most dangerous area by far, with a high spawn rate of Reaper Kings along with a lot of nameless and a lot of Seekers. This is where you'll find the beacons that have a higher chance of better equipment in them, and there are 3 different surface areas that you can go to. Each area you can only go to at night time, as the heat from the sun will shred any armor that you have and kill you in seconds. If you open up your HUD, which is holding a H on a PC key, I'm not sure how you do it on console, this will show you the season that you're in. Currently we're in 90% day and 10% night. Typically you want to wait until you're 90% night and 10% day to give you the most time to loot the beacons. Seasons change every 3 to 4 days, which will switch between 90% day, 10% night to 50-50, and then going to the opposite, which is 10% day and 90% night. Another key feature added to this map is the earthquakes. These randomly happen and cause resources to fall from the sky, although in very small amounts, and you can just pick it up off the ground, and they show as little deposits like these. As you see, the earthquakes actually move the character as well, which can kick you off of zip lines, it can make you fall from your climbing picks, and it can also send you tumbling down a cliff, so be very careful. Next up we'll talk about the different resources available in an Aberration, most notable of which would be the different coloured gems. If you have a look at your engram list for the Aberration map, you'll notice that a lot of the stuff actually required different coloured gems to be crafted. So you see here you've got green gems, you've got red gems, you've got blue gems. Green gems are found in the fertile region, and they're found in little clusters like this. They're mostly used to craft climbing picks. You can use it to craft a basilisk saddle, which honestly I was shocked at, because a basilisk is quite a high level tame and this is probably the easiest gem to get. It's also used to make glow sticks and the roll rat saddle. Blue gems can be found in the Bioluminescent region, or like we are here, just on the outskirts. You'll find them in little clusters of blue crystals like this, or you can find them in little clusters of dark blue purpley clusters like this. Blue gems are used to craft the glider, the hazard suit, zipline motor and carcass saddle. Red gems are found in the Molten Element region, and no, unfortunately you can't farm these massive deposits of red crystal. Instead, you'll want to farm purple crystals like these, which will drop the red gems, or red crystals like these, which will drop the red gems. Red gems are used to craft the gas collector, also crafts the charge lantern, rock drake saddle and the tech railgun. Next up is the Congealed Gas Balls, which is notably used to craft your hazard suit. Easiest way to collect this is with a gas collector, but as stated going through the gems, you actually need red gems to be able to make this, and you need to go into the Molten Element region to be able to get the red gems, and realistically you need a hazard suit to do that. So without the gas collector, what you'll need to do is wait for a gas vein to erupt. As the gas vein erupts, it will spew out the congealed gas balls, which can be collected. Whilst the gas vein is still erupting, you don't want to walk in there because you'll become poisoned and you'll take a little bit of damage over time. When you pick up the congealed gas ball, it drops between 1 to 5 gas balls each time. To make a full hazard suit you need 125 of them, and then you'll be able to go to the Molten Element region, farm red gems to your heart's content and make a bunch of gas collectors. With the gas collector, have it in your inventory, use it, and it will snap straight to the gas vein. If you put it on the gas vein, it still sort of works on the eruption timer and it will just produce gas balls over time. For the best place to go to get your congealed gas balls and to find like a real decent amount of gas veins, if you come over to these coordinates here and at this map location, which is like right on the verge of like the fertile region and the bioluminescent region, you'll see this pathway that's sort of going up the big sort of tree thing. If you follow this through, you're going to want to have some aquatic mushrooms with you, assuming at this point you don't have the hazard suit armor because you're trying to farm congealed gas balls. You'll need the aquatic mushrooms to get through this bit because this is going to give you the freezing debuff, and because I'm flying I can't actually eat. Did not think about that. Do that, get rid of that. We will just fly again and fly through, so you keep following this pathway. Obviously you want to have like charge pets and stuff with you because of the nameless, and because you're in the bioluminescent region. But if you come to this section here, really easy to see because it's got like all the blue crystals and everything there. But like you got gas vein there, gas vein there, there. There's another one there, there's another 2 there, there's one over here, there's one there, there's another one there. So there is a lot of gas veins here, and this is what I used to get my 125, and wow, that did a lot of damage, whatever that was. But yeah, that's what I used to get the 125 you need to get the hazard suit armor, and you can sort of see them erupting from a distance, which is quite nice. And then you just go over, pick up the congealed gas ball. There is sort of a pattern to it, I can't remember it anymore, but you can figure it out when you're standing there long enough trying to farm the gas balls. And moving on. Fungal Wood is a new type of wood that was added in Aberration. Super easy to get. You'll find these giant mushrooms all over Aberration map, and if you hit those you get fungal wood instead of normal wood. Fungal wood can be used as a substitute for normal wood in most recipes, but it must be used in a number of craftings, such as for the climbing pick, zipline anchors and stone cliff platforms. Next up on the list isn't really a new material, it's going to be Polymer, just because it's kind of difficult to find obsidian before you reach the Molten Element region, and it was something that I struggled to find out how to get. All you want to do is get yourself a decent tame and go farm some carcass. So that carcass is dead, and if we farm up its dead body, you'll get some organic polymer. Organic polymer can be used to substitute in all recipes that polymer is used for, and it's a lot easier to get on this map. Supposedly you do get some obsidian in the bioluminescent region, although I've not really found any. I may have found like 1 or 2 bits, but yeah, it's not really realistic to farm obsidian until you can get to the Molten Element region, and until that point, killing and farming carcass is probably your best option. Next up is element ore, which can be found in the Molten Element region. This is used to craft element, and you'll find it in little nodes like this. Just farm it with a pickaxe and it will drop element ore. Last resource we'll cover in this section is going to be element. Due to the fact there are no bosses except for the final boss, which will trigger your ascension, there is nothing that drops element naturally, and what you need to do is you'll need to come to what are called charge nodes, which are these things, and they're dotted all across the Aberration map. If you open this up, you'll see that you can craft element. Crafting element takes a number of different resources that are native to the Aberration map, and with the charge batteries you need a fully charged charge battery, which you'll see this is an empty one which will turn black or grey, and then a fully charged one is green. All you need to do is take a charge battery to a charge node, and then you'll see this number starts increasing. Once it gets to 500 it will be a fully charged battery. And also, once you craft, it will get rid of the charge and the battery is already in there, and then you'll see it will start charging element. So not charging element, it will start crafting element. Each single craft of element will create 3, so you'll see this goes up to 33, and it will also take the charge node offline until it recharges. So it'll be overcharged for 5 minutes, and then it will come back online, but it will need to recharge, which will take another couple of minutes, and then it will be good to use again. Next up on the list, I think is quite unique to Aberration, so I figured we'll give it its own little section, and that is going to be the mushrooms. Mushrooms are easy enough to farm. Just like getting berries from bushes, you'll get mushrooms from gathering from mushrooms. Each region, so the fertile region, the bioluminescent region and the molten element region, will have a different set of dangerous spores that you can use mushrooms to counteract. So with the fertile region, the dangerous spores can be counteracted by the Auric Mushrooms. Usually the fertile region spores are stumbled across when you're walking around these red cap mushrooms, as you can see there, and it starts a hallucination effect which will decrease your oxygen and force you to suffocate. So if you eat these mushrooms, you can see it takes the timer down and it gives you a bit of a protection timer. So if you were to walk through some spores when the protection timer is on, so there we go, we've got some spores released there, you don't get that effect anymore. As well as the spores from mushrooms, you'll occasionally see zones like this which will have just little dots floating in the air. These are also dangerous spores, so if I was to walk into this, you'll see that I have started hallucinating again. But again, we can just use these mushrooms, which will provide me protection, and it will get rid of the hallucination effect. The Acerbic Mushrooms also heal you for 0.05% health over time, and this is stackable, which means it will take 20 to heal 1% or 200 to heal 100% of your health. It's also used to tame Shinehorn, as it's like second most favourite food. Next up on the list is going to be the Aquatic Mushrooms. These are used to counteract the spores from the Bioluminescent region, which is also known as a freezing debuff. These are a bit harder to spot, and they're usually spawn from these little blue things that you find on the ground. If you farm them, they also give you mushrooms as well. So you see that the effect is freezing spores, and it gives you a timer, makes you really cold, and it will also inflict torpor on you, and it can knock you out. If you eat the Aquatic Mushrooms, you'll see your timer goes down, and like the Acerbic Mushrooms, it will also give you a protection boost. So if you was to walk into said spores again, you don't get that debuff. And like in the fertile region, in the bioluminescent region, as well as getting the spores from the mushrooms on the ground, you'll also see these zones with the white dots floating around, and this will also give you the freezing debuff. And again, you can just use a nice handful of aquatic mushrooms to get rid of that. Aquatic mushrooms will also generate 7.5% water, but it will also drain 10% food over time. And it is a great source of water when you are not in an area that has much of it around. It can also be used to tame the bulldog as its second favourite source of food. The Auric Mushroom is something a bit different, so it will protect you against radiation, but you'll also still take the radiation damage, and it will also remove 10 points of water per mushroom that you eat. So I wouldn't recommend going into the Molten Element region, which is where you'll be affected by the radiation, until you have a full hazard suit, and then you don't have any need for armor. And then you don't have any need for the mushrooms, because using this you'll end up needing to bring like a lot of water with you, and I just don't think it's worth it in the long run. You can just wait until you're actually ready to go to that region. This can also be used to tame the Featherlight, which will be its second favourite food source. Lastly is going to be the Acerbic Mushroom. This will counter the immunity. No, this will counter the. Lastly is going to be the Acerbic Mushroom. This counters the spores that are released in the Molten Element region. To be fair, as I said, I've never gone to the Molten Element region without a full hazard suit, so I've never actually had to use these. Again, I probably wouldn't, because it'll inflict torpor on you, which you'd need to use like stimulants to stop your torpor, which will make you consume water, and then you'll need a lot of water, and in the long run I just don't think it's worth it. And I think it's better just to wait until you have a full set of hazard suit armor. This can be used in place of narco berries in recipes, and it's also used to tame a glowtail, which will be its second favourite food source. Next thing that I want to go through is just a few of the creatures that were introduced into Aberration. We're not going to be going through all the new creatures, we're just going through a few that I thought deserved a bit of a spotlight, and they are some of my favourites. First up is going to be the Ravager. This is a great start amount to have because it's easily tameable with a few bowlers and some trank arrows. They are usually in packs though, so you want to maybe bowler all, or what I was doing, I was bowlering all of them, killing off the lower level ones and then taming up the higher level one, because they can take a couple of bowlers to fully knock out, which can be difficult if you're trying to tame a whole pack, so I wouldn't recommend that. Reason why everyone likes this tame so much is because how easy it is to tame. It has really decent base stats, and its damage is really stackable with its pack bonus that it gets. It can go up to +4. I just didn't have enough Ravagers on me at the moment to do that, so we have a +3 at the moment, and that will let me do 227 damage, or 339 because that was mate boosted. But then if we leave those there and we come out of range of the pack, then you see I'm only doing 147 damage. So damage really stacks with the pack bonus, and as I said, you can go up to a +4 on that. The other great thing about the Ravagers is it has a very unique skill to Aberration, which is it can actually use the zip lines that are dotted around the map and the ones that you can create with your zipline anchors, and this gives it a great accessibility during early points of the game where it could be otherwise difficult to get to certain areas. Next up on my list is going to be my personal favourite, which is really my favourite mount out of the whole game at the moment as it stands. It's going to be the Rock Drake. It has great accessibility throughout the Aberration map because of its rock climb skills and because of its gliding skill. It means that any location in the map is not very hard to get to. Rock Drake is a bit different. It's not something that you can tame, and it's not something that you can breed. The only way to get a Rock Drake is to steal an egg from his family and start raising it as your own with some nameless venom. A Rock Drake tends to have really high base stats. This one already has some levels in it. As you can see, the stats are really good. It can be used in the final boss, and it is something that's recommended for the final boss. And overall, it's just a really fun mount to have. Next on the list is going to be the charge pets. These are an extremely necessary tame when you're in Aberration, especially when you're looking to explore the Bioluminescent region and the Element region, due to the fact that they will fend off the Nameless and the Reapers. Charge pets are just creatures in Aberration that will give off charged light. There are a number of creatures that can do this, including the Featherlight, Glowtail, Shinehorn, and like this one here, a Bulb Dog. They're all passive tames, and what you want to do, their favourite food is going to be a plant species Z seed, and if you have this on your last item slot in your inventory and feed it to the tame, it will get tamed. And you'll see at the top of its head it will have a charge number, so this has 280 out of 84, and that will constantly recharge over time. I know this one seems to be a bit glitched at the moment, maybe just because I've only just tamed it, but you can pet it to turn it on and you'll see the charge will go down. Let's pet to toggle off, and then yeah, you'll see it's starting to recharge. Within its levels, the levels will look a little bit different. Big changes is the charge capacity, which affects that number that shows at the top, and it affects like how long you can have charge light active for. You've got charge regen, which will just affect the speed at which it will recharge, and charge emission range, which will just affect the radius of which the charge light will be emitted. And charge pets are also a shoulder mount, so you can pick them up, and whilst they're picked up you can also use the emote wheel and go to the light bit, which will turn the light on and off, and you can also hotkey it so that you can turn it off just by pressing a button. If we go to cinematic mode, you'll see that this is the radius of the charge light, and if you change if you increase the charge emission range, then that will get bigger, and that's what that is changing. So as I said, with charge pets, the best food for it is the plant species Z seed. They're quite a weird thing to actually farm, so within this section I figured I'd just show you how to do that. You'll see these plants dotted all over the map. If you walk over to one, it will release its tentacle. The Carno's distracting me. It will release its tentacle and it will give you charge light, which is shown in the bottom right corner. Over time, you just want to wait. It usually takes a couple of minutes, but it will retract its tentacle and spit out a plant species Z seed for you to collect. There we go, so the tentacle's gone down and it has spat out a seed, and just collect that. It'll only drop one at a time, so unfortunately it is a bit grindy, but it's worth it to get a high taming effectiveness on what is just such an essential mount in this game. Not mount, such an essential tame in this game. Next up is what I think is the most fascinating creature in Aberration, or maybe even in ARK at the moment, or the creatures that I'm aware of, and that is going to be the Nameless. In Aberration they spawn everywhere except for the fertile region, and they will only spawn in the absence of charge light. So Nameless will burrow out of the ground, and they usually spawn in groups of 3 or more. I'm only seeing 2 at the moment. Well, there's another one coming now. You'll also notice that there is one over here that is glowing red. That is because this Nameless has gone into its alpha state. Out of every pack there will be one that goes into an alpha state randomly. If you kill this one, I mean if I can kill it, there we go, you'll see that another one, oh, did it happen? Well, when you kill an alpha, there we go. When you kill an alpha, another one will randomly change into an alpha. And if you leave the alpha long enough, it will call for a subterranean Reaper King. I've never actually let one live long enough to do that, so let's give that a go now. And you'll see it's got this little dark pulse that's emitting from its body, and this should be when it is calling the subterranean Reaper King. And there we go, it has spawned the Reaper King. So with the nameless, in the absence of charge light, they gain a damage reduction stat, and they'll also get a health regeneration buff. So you see there, we're doing 5 damage to this alpha state one. If we bring it over to the charge light, we're now doing 20 damage to it. Charge light will get rid of all of their buffs, and it can also sometimes make them flee because they don't like the charge light. This is the reason that you would want to bring charge pets with you anytime that you are travelling in the Bioluminescent Region, the surface, or the Molten Element region. Other sources of the charge light are like charge nodes, which I am at one here. The plant species Z, as I showed off earlier. And funnily enough, these glow bugs also have an emission of charge light, which I didn't realise was a thing until looking into this episode. Last thing to note is that as you're killing the nameless, they can drop nameless venom. For whatever reason, I couldn't get any to drop when I was killing some, but it will just look like this. The nameless venom can be used to raise your baby rock drake, or it's the only thing that can be used to raise a baby rock drake until it gets to adulthood, and then with the adults it can also be used as a consumable, which works better than meat in terms of giving it food and healing its health. Last thing it's really used for is it's used as a trophy, which we use to summon the Rockwell boss at beta level and alpha level. That is going to be it for this video. I know there is a number of other things that I could have covered, but the idea of this video was to keep it short and sweet, and sort of as I've gone down the rabbit hole I've kept adding more and more, and I didn't want to make this too long. If you did enjoy, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. If there's anything that I left out that you wish was included, or maybe you thought deserved a bit more detail, let me know in the comments below, and maybe we'll make another video in the future, or maybe make a part 2 in the future. And until next time, see you later.